All right, welcome everyone. My name is Naisha, and I'm the program manager with the Holden Space Foundation. And I'm so thankful to be here with you all. I'm here with Imani Byers, Quarterman, and we're going to have a wonderful presentation to help us advocate better for ourselves when it comes to just being in a space where we don't know how to advocate for ourselves. So I'd love to introduce Imani. Imani is a clinical social worker and a full spectrum doula with over 7 years of clinical social work experience. She is currently a clinical therapist at Maternally Mindful, principal doula at Rebirth Wellness, and a licensed certified instructor for the National Black Doulas Association. She also co-owns Your Rebirth Tribe, a birth and postpartum doula agency based in Norcross, Georgia. She is an alumni of the University of Georgia. Woo woo! Shout out to all the alumni of the University of Georgia, where she obtained her dual master's degree in public health and social work, and Howard University, where she obtained a Bachelor of Science in Human Development. She's passionate about maternal mental health, specifically for Black and other people of color, equity in healthcare, preventative screening of perinatal mental health, and organizations that promote diversity and inclusion. When she's not advocating for equitable healthcare, you can find Imani relaxing with her husband and their boxer dog, catching a music festival or concert with her girlfriends, or playing and winning Angry Birds too. Imani, we're thankful to have you here. And I'm going to pass it on over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Naisha. So nice to share space with all of you this evening. I am excited to get into it with y'all today and get into it in the best way possible, right? So we're going to be talking about perinatal anxiety as it relates to the Black woman experience and also how to navigate through anxious moments and things like that so that you can experience true advocacy during the perinatal period. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Give me just a moment here. Oh, it says, Naisha says I'm not able to share it.
I was sharing my audio. Sorry, you go.
Okay. All right. Alrighty. Oh, let me know if y'all can see my screen there.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So the title of this session is Sis is Tired and Sis is Me. Okay. So again, my name is Imani Byers Quarterman. Those are all my credentials down there. So full spectrum doula, licensed clinical social worker, master of public health, and a certified yoga teacher as well. So y'all have already gotten to know me a little bit. So this is just more information about me and what I do. I am truly passionate about the perinatal space. I think this is such a beautiful niche to work in, especially from the mental health standpoint, because a lot of times there isn't a lot of focus and tension on mental health things that come up during the perinatal period. So we're going to get into the things that we're going to talk about this evening, y'all. So this is the things that we will discuss. We will talk about perinatal anxiety, what that is. So we're going to define that. We'll also talk about vetting your birth team, navigating guilt, because I always like to say guilt is the cousin of anxiety. So we're going to talk about navigating through that. We're going to talk about some good coping skills. Also, what's really important with regards to advocacy is going to be informed versus implied consent, because if you know, you know. A lot of times implied consent is being pushed on us as informed, and we're about to 86 that, so we can be prepared to advocate for ourselves. And then also talking a bit about advocacy and supportive services. We got some things to cover, and granted, we may not be able to cover everything in the full detail that I probably normally would if we were in regular conversation, but we definitely will have time at the end for questions, anything that needs clarity, so on and so forth. Yes. All right. So, without further ado, this is my little grounding moment, my little icebreaker, if you will, right? I think it's really important for us to be present in the moment, especially when we're talking about anxiety. So, one of the things that I do a lot of times with my clients in clinic is I will tell them, all right, let's get grounded into this moment and we'll do some breathing and breath work exercises. So, as a little treat for you guys, we're going to get into a guided meditation together. Is that all right? So, I want to encourage you all to get comfortable, whether that's with baby, without baby, however you feel most comfortable, because I love the kids. Okay. And teaching grounding practices is really good for kids as well. It's good to teach emotional regulation. And that's what it's all about, right? So I want y'all to know that this technique that we're about to do, this is actually a breath awareness exercise that I've done with several clients currently and in the past. It is called a breathing anchor for
Let
your
me see. I'm
wander.
gonna call you right back.
Uh-oh.
We're good.
All right. Gotcha. All right. So this is called a breathing anchor for your wandering mind. Okay. When we talk about anxiety, we're going to talk about that constant worrying and all that stuff. So this can be a little snapshot to really bring you back down, right? To center and to focus. Okay. So to begin this meditation, I am asking you with so much gratitude to please bring kind awareness to how you feel in your body when thinking about a breathing anchor. When thinking about stress or anxiety, bring kind awareness to how your belly, chest, and head feel when you reflect on this topic, the emotions that you can associate with these visceral, also known as physical feelings, the positive or negative impact of any stories you believe in regards to this topic, the fact that many others are feeling similarly about this topic as you, how you might feel with increased awareness around this topic, and when you can apply increased mindfulness to this topic in your day-to-day life. Okay? So, I'm gonna give you a little background, then we'll get into the nitty-gritty, okay? All right. So, this mindfulness practice is your breathing anchor practice, a meditation where you root your awareness into the present moment like an anchor that roots a ship to one place. This practice may help you to dissolve anxiety, decrease stress, and allow the body and mind to experience peace and relaxation. So, to begin, adopt as comfortable a position as possible. That can be sitting, laying down, standing. And if you felt like you needed to walk in place, you could do that too. My guidance is going to assume that you're either sitting or laying, but you can adapt these instructions to whatever posture you've chosen. So let's get nice and comfortable, sitting tall, and let's be present in this moment. Now, I would like you to see if you can establish a position that feels dignified, alert, but relaxed. And allow your body to settle, to rest into gravity, letting it be supported by the floor or chair beneath you. And now gently, I invite you, if you feel comfortable, to close your eyes. This can help your awareness to settle by lessening external distractions. Now gradually allow your awareness to gather around the sensations of the breath in your body. And take note where you feel your breath most strongly. Be curious about your actual experience, letting go of what you think should be happening, and being with your experience without judgment. Now, very gently, rest your awareness within the whole torso. Can you feel your belly swelling on the in breath and subsiding on the out breath? Can you feel any movement or sensations of the breath in the sides and the back of the body as well? Gradually inhabit your body a little more deeply with a sense of kind curiosity towards whatever you're experiencing as you breathe. Remember to be accepting of whatever's happening, holding your experience with gentle awareness as it is. See now if you can cultivate a precise awareness of the sensations and movement of the breath in the body as they happen, moment by moment, being careful not to strain. Allow your awareness to be utterly receptive as it rests upon the natural movement of the breath in the body. Allow the breath to be saturated with kindliness as it rocks and cradles the body, soothing any stress, pain, or discomfort you may feel. Now become aware of any thoughts and emotions. Remember, mindfulness is not about having a blank mind. It's normal to think. Mindfulness is the training whereby you cultivate awareness of what is actually happening physically, mentally, and emotionally. With increased awareness, you can gradually change your perspective and feel you have more choice in how you relate to your life. See if you can look at your thoughts and emotions rather than from them. Can you be aware of what you're thinking and feeling without either blocking the experience or getting overwhelmed by it? And then anchor your awareness back in your breath. Use awareness of the movement and sensations of the breath in your body as an anchor for the mind over and over and over again. As thoughts arise, know that they are not facts, even though we often think that they are. As you develop perspective on your thoughts and emotions, including undermining ones, can we let go of being so caught up in them? Notice how they're continually changing one moment to the next, exactly the same way as your breath is always changing. Your thoughts and emotions are not as fixed, as solid as you perhaps thought. Now let's come back to your breath. Follow the breath all the way in and all the way out. Each time your awareness wanders, as it will, simply note this and return to your breathing anchor. This time, and then every time after that, and every time after that, moment by moment, making sure you're very kind and patient with yourself, even if you have to start again 100 times. Starting over and coming back is perfectly okay. That's what the training is all about. And remember, each time you notice you've wandered is a magic moment of awareness, a moment where you've woken up from distraction, a moment of choice. So when you catch yourself having wandered off, you're succeeding in the practice, just as you're succeeding when you manage to stay with the breath, even if just for a moment. What's happening now? What are you thinking? Just note this without analyzing or latching on, and guide your awareness back to the sensation of the breath in the body over and over again. And now, gently begin to bring the breathing anchor practice to a close. Opening your eyes slowly and in your own time. Become aware of the sounds around you, inside and outside of the room. Feel your whole body and gradually Gently begin to move, making sure you give yourself time to make a smooth transition from the breathing anchor practice to whatever you're doing next. All right, y'all. Are we feeling? Are we grounded? Are we in the moment? Very good. This is also a coping skill for anxiety, is breath awareness, being mindful. We'll tap into a little bit more about that as we go forward. So let's talk about it. What is perinatal anxiety? So perinatal anxiety is anxiety that shows up during the preconception, conception, birth, and postpartum period. So literally, it's what we would classify general anxiety as, just as showing up in the perinatal period. I've listed here some of the things that can come up as signs of perinatal anxiety. We have the excessive worrying, and not just worrying about yourself, but also your baby, your kids, job, etc., so on and so forth. We have that agitation and irritability, which can lead to the rage and then spirals to guilt and shame. So remember how I said guilt was the cousin of anxiety? Absolutely. Anxiety is a predecessor usually for guilt. And we'll talk about that as well as we go forward. Also, it is evidenced by restlessness, being fidgety, can't sit still, feeling on edge. So if you like me or any of the other women in my family, that constant bouncing of the leg, tapping of the nails, having to do something with your hands, having misplaced energy, not knowing where to put it, that could be a manifestation of the anxiety. Some of the somatic symptoms or physical symptoms that we could experience would be like muscle tension, heart palpitations, so that weird feeling when your heart's beating weird, or maybe you feel like your heart's beating in your throat almost, having a racing heart rate, shortness of breath, any distress in the GI tract. So if we got the runs, if we can't go to the restroom, do number two, you know the vibes. You know what we're talking about here. This is how anxiety can manifest on a physical sense, right? I often tell clients sometimes we're good with our poker face. We're good putting our face up and being like, oh, yes, everything's fine. Everything is peaches and cream. But the body, I tell them, never lies. You can see this as increased pulse, increased blood pressure. The body does not lie. We can front, but the body feels what it feels, right? And then also, we can see things like poor concentration, disruptive sleep patterns, so on and so forth. You get where we're stepping in. That is the nature of anxiety. So, the golden rule for knowing and recognizing anxiety is that anxiety is future and fear driven. It's all about the what ifs. What if this happens? What if this occurs? What if I can't? What if it doesn't? So on and so forth. And it's usually within a negative connotation. The truth is, though, we can what if all day long. I can what if with the best of them, as I'm sure we all can. Our goal here, though, is to transition from the what ifs to the what is, which is being in the present moment. Because truly, that's all we have is the right now. So being able to focus on the now calms our anxiety, thus leading to and eliminating anxiety or effectively coping with it, right? If we focus on what's in front of us, we don't have to worry about what's to come, what's not here yet, so on and so forth. We can focus on what's here right now. Now, for my Black women, my queens of the diaspora, anxiety often pulls up like feelings of failure and uncertainty. So when I'm in clinic, y'all, I hear statements like, I don't feel adequate. I'm not sure if I'm doing this the right way. I feel like I don't know enough to do X, Y, and Z. I'm not prepared for this. What if I do something and it affects the baby? Am I really ready to be a mom? So on and so forth. In our own lingo, in our vernacular that we use around our people, sometimes we've heard family members saying our nerves being shot or they own my nerve. Those are anxious signs. Things being super hypercritical of things being or going a certain way, or else it's considered wrong and not the right thing to do. Those are also signs of anxiety. And then, of course, we have the arch nemesis of Black women, I feel in general, especially in that millennial range, is that imposter syndrome. That feeling of, even though I know this, or even though I'm qualified on paper, I still don't feel confident in what I should be able to do. I feel like somebody's going to find out that I really don't know this stuff, even though we know it. All of this is rooted in and stems from anxieties. I'm curious, just by a quick show of hands, can anyone relate to this? These feelings of anxiety, these feelings like I'm failing, these feelings like I don't know, I don't know. And I'm uncomfortable with that. I don't know. I'm uncomfortable sitting in the present moment. Yeah. It's an unfortunate thing that we can all relate on for sure. So when we move from anxiety into more self deprecating thoughts, more down talking on ourselves, that's when anxiety meets its cousin, guilt. Okay. And as Black women, oh, we love to carry guilt. Oh, we pick it up and wear it like a badge of honor. It's almost like a complex, if you will. Because if I feel this guilt or even shame, right? That's I feel deserving of that. That's comfortable. We're comfortable sitting with guilt and shame because we don't know how to accept our present for what it is. We're not comfortable accepting that it's okay to make a mistake, but carrying faults or ruminating or constantly thinking about things that we've done wrong, that's a safe zone for us oftentimes. It's comfortable there, it's safe there. So when anxiety manifests into guilt, if you have a great deal of anxiety, you may be more likely to negatively assess your own actions in ways that lead to feelings of guilt. And guilt stems from this thought that you did something wrong. So if I were to ask you all to make a mental note to think about something with regards to parenting or just even life in general that you have felt guilty about, I'm wondering what that would be. You can feel free to drop it in the chat if you feel comfortable. I'm wondering what that guilt you carry looks like. Why do we feel ashamed or guilty about certain things that we navigate through? For me, I'm always saying, show me the Carfax. Tell me the real deal spill, right? So guilt as a noun is defined as the fact of having committed a specified or implied offense or crime. So when I look at that definition, I'm like, well, what crime did I commit by not knowing how to do something? What crime did I commit for having a human experience and maybe being frustrated and it coming off that way to my family? If I could come back and own that, was there a crime? Do I need to carry guilt or shame surrounding that? Or what offense have I committed by speaking up for myself and asking questions, even though my provider may show annoyance at me for doing so? Why am I carrying this shame behind that? And then the verb of guilt, right, which we can kind of see in these provider spaces, is that guilt is to make someone feel guilty, especially in order to induce them to do something, which is screaming manipulation, right? I've been made to feel like I've done something wrong by asking this question. It makes me feel like I've done something wrong because I saw a social media post saying, this is how you're supposed to do this, and I did it a different way. We have to really take a moment to assess our feelings of guilt and identify what the implied offense is. And is this worthy of me carrying this badge of shame? So, how do we combat this? We combat anxiety, we combat guilt, we combat shame, we combat it with the truth. The truth quite literally sets us free. When we combat anxiety with the truth, we eliminate the unnecessary rumination and the what ifs and uncertainties. Because, as the saying goes, it is what it is. The truth is what it is. So, if this is what we're navigating through and this is what we have, I cannot force myself, or I can no longer continue to dwell on what could be. Because remember, anxiety is future driven, but where we are is in the present moment. So being able to step back and say, you know what? It is what it is. I can navigate through this as best as I can. I tried my best. There's nothing that I did from a space of malice. So I'm going to offer myself grace. You get the vibes. You get where I'm going here. Or at least I hope you do. So craft your reality, queens. Tell yourself the truth. Our outcomes can be affected by our choices. If we identify, if any of this resonates with you and you're like, man, I've been kind of stuck in this cycle or on the wheel of rumination, as I like to call it, work towards getting off that wheel. And we can do that by seeking professional help. There's no shame in that. There's a lot of stigma surrounding mental health, but I'm so grateful that over the years I've seen this stigma slowly but surely being lifted, especially within the Black community. That is a beautiful thing because we're deserving of mental peace. Someone somewhere is absolutely holding space for you. Identify those people and reach out and let them know that you need support on getting off of this rumination wheel. With respect to the journey of conception, birth, and postpartum, one way that we can work to craft the reality you need to reinforce positive thoughts and combat negative thoughts is to build the right team around you to help keep anxiety at bay. So you got to find your tribe. You got to find your tribe. These are my 3 top things to look for when creating your tribe that I identify as extremely important. I want you to identify people that you can work with, that are going to be honest with you, that feed your soul, that nourish you, that provide you with the support and love that you need during this time. Anxiety is also fed by other people who don't understand where you're coming from. And so it is very important that we remain vigilant in identifying people who can support us. Community is important as a human being in general, but it is hugely important to us in the Black community. It's kind of like second nature for us, if you think about it. It's deeper than having a service provider. It's deeper than, seeing somebody familiar. It's deeper than that. It's truly stemmed in us building a trust in a system that has systemically caused us harm. And so how do we work to do that? We look for our skin folk. We look for the people who look like us. It builds comfortability, and also we're here for the vibe. We're here for the good vibe. Can you catch my vibe? Can you support me? Can I relate to you? Can I talk to you like I've known you forever? Those things are important to us. Building rapport and building connections are extremely important to us. Whether this is your medical provider, so your OBGYN or midwife, whether this is your therapist, your doula, chiropractor, pelvic floor therapist, lactation counselor. I tried to hit up all my heavy hitters in the birth worker space, right? We almost feel most immediately comfortable when we see ourselves and our providers. But we have to be mindful of that as well. Because in addition to outward presence, because I love to see another Black woman, Black person serving in this space, such a deeply vulnerable space, full of uncertainties, full of unknowns. I love seeing somebody that looks like me. But in addition to that, I also encourage to tap in with your personal intuitions and identify some key factors that make someone the perfect match to work with you. Do they match your vibe and your needs? What's the energy like? That is very important. Do you trust them to speak up for you and or your family if needed? Do you trust them to amplify your voice over their own needs in that space? Do you trust them to do what's best for you in that moment? Right? Trust is a major factor here because when we don't trust, we cannot accept our truth or our current reality. And if we can't accept our present space, then we can get caught up in rumination cycles of anxiety, but also depression. So you want to identify a provider that offers clear communication. Talk to me nice. Tell me what you're saying. What can I expect from you? How can you help me? Someone who is not rushing you to express your feelings. Someone who takes the time to answer your questions. When you speak to them, I don't feel like a bother. I feel like I matter. You don't feel like a number or like you're just there for compliance. Seek out clear communication. Also, you want to find somebody that's going to validate your concerns. These are things that are important to me. Are they important to you too? What are your thoughts on that? Do I feel bad for expressing my feelings to you? Or do I feel safe and heard and secure? Consider that when selecting providers. And also, again, cannot reiterate enough, someone that's going to amplify your voice. When we're in the thick of it, regardless of what's going on within the perinatal period, is this person someone that I can trust to hold true to the things that we discussed? As long as I am safe, as long as the child is safe, is this somebody that's going to allow my wishes to come about? As long as there is no need for any other higher level type of intervention. Can I trust this person to do that for me? Consider those things. And always, always trust your intuition. The gut does not lie. That little voice we hear, sometimes we need to tap into it a little bit more because it's there for a reason. That internal conflict, internal conscious, that conscious awareness, right? It's there for a reason. Let's tap into it. And if you feel uneasy, call that out and see where it takes you because your experience is being cultivated by you. You're creating this reality that you're in. A part of finding your voice is really identifying the difference between informed versus implied consent. So before we get into it, I just would like to know by show of hands or saying something in the chat, right? How many of you feel like you received informed consent in anything that you navigated through? Or did you experience implied consent? So, for reference, informed consent involves an explicit written agreement after a discussion and it respects your autonomy as a patient. Implied consent is inferred and is often seen in routine and emergency situations. So, i.e., doctor's visits, cervical checks, hospital policies for labor, so on and so forth. So, if you have to think back, right, to any experiences you've had, what type of consent did you receive? Implied. I'm pretty sure oftentimes a lot of us have received implied consent most of the time, especially within the perinatal space. It's the, all right, we're going to go ahead and check your cervix. All right, we're going to break your water. All right, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. All right, we're going to start the IV. All right, I'm going to hook you up to the machine. Those are all implied consent. Informed consent, just because they told you they're going to do something, that doesn't necessarily constitute as informed consent. Again, informed consent gives you either a written agreement or it's conversation based. Hey, based off of what you've experienced, this is what I'm thinking. Maybe we can try this. How do you feel about that? That's informed consent. Or if they're talking to you about cupcakes, as they like to call them, or vaccines, right? If they're talking to you about that and they give you a paper, right? Similar to kind of like if you've had a cesarean birth and they give you that paper, okay, here is the paper saying that you consent to surgery, or here's a paper saying you consent to getting this for your children, or here's a paper saying you're denying X, Y, and Z. Those are informed consents. Those are things that, you know, they let you have discussions and things of that nature, but be careful with those as well, because anytime they're like, yeah, it's pretty standard stuff, you don't have to read it, read it. Otherwise, it's implied technically, right? What I want to encourage you with and to remind you all and ensure that you know is that you have the unequivocal right to change or withdraw consent until a medical procedure begins. It is your right to change your mind. It is your right to withdraw your thoughts and say, you know what, actually, I need a little bit more time before I say yes. Knowing the difference between informed and implied consent makes a huge difference and allows you to be able to engage in thoughtful conversations with your team. This is how self-advocacy comes into play. If you have not engaged in this before, I strongly encourage that you do. Sit down and have those conversations. A favorite acronym we give in the doula world is BRAIN, right? We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But I always encourage my clients to use their brain. So we're going to talk about that in just a few moments. So we learned about informed and implied consent, talking about building your birth tribe. Now, how do we find calm within that chaos to improve your outcomes? We're going to breathe, we're going to reflect, and we're going to release. These are the coping skills. So today, when we began our interaction with one another, we started with a meditation and breath awareness exercise. So breath work quite literally works to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So when I talk about the nervous system, because of course you got to have anatomy class when you're talking about mental health, right? Because the brain is a part of the body and the brain is a part of that central nervous system. But when we talk about the parasympathetic nervous system, I want you to think about the spa, like how you feel when you go to the spa, or how you feel when you're at the beach or some other place that you love. Very relaxed, low key, chilling. It's all good. You have good energy, good vibes going on. Now, breath work helps to activate that parasympathetic nervous system, that spa vibe, that woo-saw feeling, okay? Now, that sympathetic nervous system, that's us in overdrive, okay? And just being real, that's me 95% of the time. Overdrive, fight, flight, or freeze. AKA, how I like to identify it, Atlanta traffic. it's up. Everything is up. I'm not relaxed. I'm not calm. I'm on edge. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm on go. That's the sympathetic nervous system. So focusing on meditation and focusing on our breath allows us to turn that part of this nervous system off and get us back into a Zen space. With regards to reflection, that can be done in supportive group settings such as this, individual or group therapy, spiritual counseling, journaling. However, you can get out and record your thoughts, that's a space of reflection. And then release in this stance, I'm discussing somatic practices. So, yoga, general exercise, Pilates, whatever you're into, swimming. Those are physical releases that you can engage in, of course, in addition to getting good night's sleep and rest. Okay. So, this is how you can find your calm. Identify things that work best for you to get the outcomes that you would like. But above all else, we have to stay present. So in closing, that is my encouragement to you, is to stay present. Advocacy, especially self-advocacy, can feel extremely daunting, but using your brain can help. So I promise to tell y'all this acronym. And so this acronym is benefits, risks, alternatives, intuition, and nothing. So when I say use your brain, if you're in a session with me, this is what I'm referring to. Ask them what the benefits are, what the risks are, what are the alternatives? Again, that intuition, what is my gut saying? And then what happens if I do nothing? This acronym right here is like guaranteed informed consent because it's going to give you time. If it's not emergent, it can wait. And we know the difference between what emergence looks like versus what it doesn't, right? So again, use your brain. Benefits, risks, alternatives, intuition, and nothing. What happens if I do absolutely nothing? What are the benefits to this procedure? What are the risks with this? Do I have any alternative options? What does my gut say? And what happens if I do nothing? Okay. All in favor of you asking questions, seeking supportive services if you need them. If you're constantly stuck in that overdrive and that wheel, build your dream team, create your reality, make your reality look like what you want it to look like. And we're going to A6 these what ifs and focus on the what is. You can do this. I have seen it happen, and it is my pleasure to see people heal forward through these things. If you need further support, seek that. If there's anything that I could help to connect you to, please feel free to reach out. I will have my contact information available at the end. Also, too, wanted to let you guys know that Postpartum Support International is one of the leading postpartum support platforms. They have several free groups for the perinatal period. You can tap in with them at postpartum.net. Also, the Shades of Blue project is actually focused specifically on Black maternal mental health. You can absolutely check in with them. That's the Shades of Blue project. There's also the Maternal Mental Health Hotline. So this is for anyone. It can be mothers or it can be dads, grandmas, sisters, cousins, uncles. This is a hotline that is available 24/7, 365. It is funded by HRSA because we see that this is a concern for folks. So you can reach them by dialing 1-833 TLC Mama. So that's 1-833-852-6262. Yeah, I can send it to y'all. I didn't put it in y'all's part. It's in my brain. I'm sorry. Also, there's different courses you can do, like Hypno Babies. That's a great one to do if you're feeling anxious about the giving birth process. And there are also a few coloring books that are designed by Black women for Black women that I can also share with you guys as well. All right, so any questions? I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. I guess I can see you guys too. Any questions at all, feel free to come off mute, write it in the chat. You did good with time.
We did great with time. Thank you so much for that, Imani. Does anyone have any questions? If not, I do have one myself, or maybe a couple. Well, Imani, this is specifically for you. So, as a therapist and a doula, and then of course yoga instructor, you are within the world of helping women, of course, people in general. So what if someone literally does not know what to do, where to go? How do you bring them to the first part, like they may not even be, they may not even be pregnant, but they're experiencing anxiety. They want to possibly become pregnant. They need more resources. How do you bring them through the process?
So, are you asking like how I direct them, like if they're not clear? Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. So, honestly, I just meet my clients where they are. I have to identify where you are with things and where you're trying to go, right? But first, we're going to start with what is the catalyst for these thoughts? Who told you X, Y, and Z is occurring, right? So, for example, sometimes I have a lot of clients that are dealing with this feeling of worthiness. Well, who told you that you weren't worthy? Are you telling that to yourself? Was this implied to you through different people in your family, things of that nature? We go through a narration to identify where these things first stem from. And then based off of that, we collaborate on their treatment plan. I always tell my clients, I'm not the expert on you. You're the expert on you. I'm an expert on human behavior. So what we're going to do is come together with your expert knowledge on yourself and my expert knowledge on what is normal human behavior. And we're going to come together and collectively identify how we can get you to a more stable space. Right. So that's what I do.
Okay, this makes sense. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind, I do have a question. Um,
Yes.
and my children are in the background, so they may speak. I can't get them to be fully quiet. As a, I mean, I've had the experience. I have two toddlers now. But also I'm kind of developing the space to support moms. And what I find is like the hesitation and like kind of the reluctance to almost dig deeper. How do you like
Mm-hmm.
assist in that process to like get to that identifying some of the source of, who told you this, where did this stem from, to be able to then kind of heal that? Because I like to say, like, you can't heal what you don't reveal. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
be in the space where, you're prepared to do the work to, identify what is causing this or where it stems from, to then
Yeah.
be able to start your healing journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna be honest with you. I always tell people, come ready. I can't make you
Okay.
be ready, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes when we identify that, oh, this is the issue. If they're not ready to dig into that, who am I? The only thing I can do is say, okay, you can spin the block when you're ready. We'll be here because it's going to be here. Sometimes I'll even tell people, okay, well, we may not address it today, but it will be addressed, right? Because it's not something we can't continuously beat around the bush. If they've come to
Right.
therapy and they've started, or even if they're coming for different healing services, right? Like you said, you came here for a reason. And it's not my job to coddle you or tell you the things that make you feel good. It's my job to challenge you to help you grow and go
Dig deeper.
deeper.
Yeah,
Yes,
I appreciate that.
exactly.
Okay.
For
Thank
sure.
you.
You're welcome. Anika.
Yes. Oh, what she just said, because when she said reveal it to heal it, I actually wrote that in something, but it's true because knowing what our triggers are, or things from our past traumas, or even things we're still dealing with, or you're just not revealing because it's come to you, is key. But when I had
Yeah,
put into
yeah.
the chat about when you're in these doctors or nurse practitioners, whatever, they try to rush you out. There is nothing wrong with saying, hey, hold up. you getting paid for this 30 minutes. We're gonna be here for 29 at least, you know, and it's
Absolutely.
and I'm always like I always tell people, always you have to take somebody with you if you don't have that full voice as you're gaining your voice. Because I think we all have it in us innate. It's just key to always reading the stuff. Ask questions, like you were saying earlier, to always say, look, now hold up. I need some more time. I'm not gonna rush into this right now. Or like I said, when you get those privacy practices, read them.
Mhm.
Even through on the screen, be
Absolutely.
like, excuse me, can you print that out? Because they're good for saying, just sign the pad. What am I signing? And especially
Exactly.
with us, because I usually cross out, you will not be able to experiment on me, use my blood, my here, because it's a thing, especially with black and brown, women, however you identify, it's true. And I'm sure you
Yeah.
hear this a lot, right, Imani, where you have
Mhm.
folks that they're just not being heard. And
Yeah.
you're paying these folks. That's, I need you to make sure you're listening to me and what my needs are. So I don't end up
Absolutely.
tripping out. you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's also a cultural thing too,
Yep.
because patience gives like a hierarchy type situation. Like
Mhm.
the provider is the authority figure in there. No, the authority figure is you as the client. That's why I refer to folks as clients, right? Because I could be fired. So with that in mind, right, I'm coming from a person and environment, a person-centered approach. I'm here for the person. I tell all my clients that come to therapy, yes, insurance says therapy hour is technically 45 to 55 minutes. But if I am in the midst of something, you just told me something that's escalated, well, I can't send you back out to the world. I'll open up. We're going to close this thing up. I don't care about what's paid for, what I can bill for. What I care about is you can go back out and function normally in society. I love when I see doctors that do that as well. Are you sure you don't have any more questions? This is your time. Do that. Those are the type of providers you want to see. All my providers do that. You're like, you're not asking enough. Okay, well, you answered everything. I don't have nothing else to ask. You know what I mean? So, yeah, absolutely. Speak up for yourselves. Don't be timid. We're going to eat 86 that good patient complex. What does that mean? Compliance? I'm not compliant to nothing that's concerning me. I need to know, and it's okay to ask.
See, you're a
Yeah,
blessing because you make sure it's not only a safe space, it's a brave space, and you make sure people are ready or okay before they leave out. So that's
absolutely, absolutely. And then I also tell clients, back to what Lisa asked about, when they come and they're just like, I just don't want to dive into it. I ask them, well, are you ready for this journey? It's okay to not be ready now. You can always come back. But we're not just gonna sit here and kiki because I'm not your friend like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I, if no one else
Any
has
other
another
questions?
question, I had another one. I think as we think about like advocating for our children, I think, kind of the space has gotten sensitive where we're having a hard time advocating for our children without like the fear of, jeopardizing custody, right? Like
Yeah.
what I don't know if you had any recommendations there or what your thoughts are on that.
Man, that gets really nuanced, especially depending on where you are in the world, right? Um, when people say things like trust CPS to do their job, um, we have to this becomes a different conversation, but we have to be mindful of what their job is. And so and to hold that with a certain type of respect. That's what I would say regarding that. With regards to parenting your children, being direct with them, ain't nothing wrong with that. Teaching emotional regulation is a good thing. I tell my clients all the time, you should let your kids see you upset or yell, and then you should take accountability and say, I had a moment. I apologize. This is how I should have handled it. Can we do a do over, right? Teaching that emotional regulation, I think, is extremely important for developing appropriate adults, right? So if we show them human, they won't be ashamed of human reactions. So showing yourself grace in the parenting space by also being able to be humble enough to apologize to kids when necessary, but also being able to hold kids accountable, age appropriately, of course, and letting them know, hey, this is not how we handle things. This is a better way to do it. You know, yeah.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
yeah.
Imani, thank you so much again. I know
Yes.
I've taken away so much resource and just brain stuck with me so much. I'm like, goodness, I did not know this, just sign here, sign here, sign here. And I'm like, okay, it's just like you said, being that good patient. Why? Why
Mm-hmm.
patient? So thank you.
Yeah. You're a good patient because you showed up.
Right.
Okay.
If
You showed up. That's a good patient.
my main
Right.
thing, insurance is going to pay for this, and me, of course, as well. So that's the good.
Listen. Okay. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I had fun with y'all. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that this resonated with you all. Yes, I'm so grateful. Stay connected with me. That's where I'm at on Instagram, my website, my email.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. I definitely will stay connected. And Imani will be out, of course, advocating this week. So, of course, stay connected with her so we can see. Maybe we'll meet up at a different event. All right.
Yes. Peace.
Bye, everyone.
Peace. Thank you all.